Hello, friends. This is Mrs. Dennis again, and for this assignment, we are going to read the story called The Thief. Now, friends, this is a really short story, but there are lots of questions that we're going to answer to go along with this story. So here's how we're going to start. I'm going to read just a few paragraphs at a time, and then I'm going to give you some questions. Now, I'm going to answer those questions, but I want you to think about them while I answer them. So I really want you to listen to the story, and I really want you to think about these questions that I'm going to ask you about the story. Because when we're done, you're going to have to go through and reread the story by yourself and then answer some questions again. But we're going to go over all of that. So let's start with the title. The title is called The Thief. Now, typically a title gives you a little bit of what the story may be about. So if I tell you that the title of this story is called The Thief, then what do you think the story is going to be about? Right, the story is going to be about a thief. So I'm going to read paragraphs 1 and 2. And then after I read paragraphs 1 and 2, I'm going to ask you a question about those paragraphs. And then let's see if you can think about the answer, and then I'm going to give you the answer. So here we go. One dark and stormy night, while King Alfred was sleeping, a thief crept into his bedroom and stole the king's golden ring. The next morning, when the king woke up, he saw that his ring was gone. The king was very sad. So that's paragraphs 1 and 2. So here's my question for you. While everyone slept, what happened? Let me ask you that question again. While everyone slept, what happened? Now, I'm going to reread those paragraphs to you one more time so that you can now you know what the question is. I want you to be able to see if you can pick out the answer from paragraphs 1 and 2. So let me read them one more time. One dark and stormy night while King Alfred was sleeping, a thief crept into his bedroom and stole the king's golden ring. The next morning, when the king woke up, he saw that the ring was gone. The king was very sad. So, while everyone slept, what happened? That's right, a thief came in and stole the king's golden ring. Now, how do you know, and how are you going to answer this question? Well, you're going to answer this question in a complete sentence, and you're going to cite evidence. So you're going to say, while everyone slept, a thief crept into the king's bedroom and stole the king's golden ring. That's the answer. Now, you found that answer is in paragraph 1. Okay? And if you get a question that says, well, how do you know? It states in paragraph 1, it says, a thief crept into his bedroom and stole the king's golden ring. It says it right in the paragraph. So that's your evidence. That's how you know. Now, how did the king feel about losing his ring? That's right. The king was very sad. And it says in paragraph 2, the king was very sad about losing his ring. So now let's read paragraphs 3 and 4. Someone stole my ring, he cried in agony. It was my father's ring, and his father before him. It is a king's ring. I must have it back. King Alfred was so upset that morning that he could not eat his eels on toast. So here's the question for you. What about the lost ring made King Alfred so sad? Now I'm going to read paragraphs 3 and 4 over again so that you can try to think about the answer to that question. Here's the question again. What about the lost ring made King Alfred so sad? Here are the paragraphs again, paragraphs 3 and 4. Someone stole my ring, he cried in agony. It was my father's ring, and his father's before him. It is a king's ring. I must have it back. Now, what about the lost ring made King Alfred so sad? Well, because it was his father's ring, and his father before him. It's a king's ring. It states in paragraph 3 that it was my father's ring and his father's ring before him. It is a king's ring. It's a family heirloom. So if, let's say you get something from a family member and a family member before them had it, and they just kept handing it down and handing it down. So this ring was very important to King Alfred. Now I'm going to read paragraphs 5 and 6. Paragraphs 5 and 6. King Alfred summoned his 12 brave knights. 11 of them came at once on horseback. Sir Gus, the fearless, came later on foot. Sir Gus explained why he was late. He explained that he had lost his horse. "Why, good sir," said the king, "you will not get very far on foot." All right, friends, so that's paragraphs 5 and 6. So here is the question that I want to ask. Who did King Alfred call to help him? Now, I'm going to read the paragraphs again for you. All right, I want you to think about who did King Alfred call to help him. Okay? King Alfred summoned his 12 brave knights. 11 of them came at once on horseback. Sir Gus, the fearless, came later on foot. Sir Gus explained why he was late. He explained that he had lost his horse. "Why, good sir," said the king, "you will not get very far on foot." So, who did King Alfred call to help him? That's right. King Alfred called his 12 brave knights. And how do we know? Because in paragraph 5 it says King Alfred summoned his 12 brave knights. We can get that answer directly from the paragraph. Now, why was Sir Gus not on his horse? That's right, because he lost his horse. Sir Gus said that he had lost his horse. Exactly. Now, let's move on to paragraph 7 and 8. "Yes, my lord. I mean, no, my lord," replied Sir Gus. "The problem is, your majesty, that when I am on my horse, I itch. I had such a bad itch last night that I fell off my horse and it ran off." "Well, you must stop itching then," said the king. So, now we're getting into how Sir Gus lost his horse. So how did Sir Gus lose his horse? Now, I'm going to read the paragraphs over to you again. Paragraph 7 and paragraph 8. "Yes, my lord. I mean, no, my lord," replied Sir Gus. "The problem is, your majesty, that when I am on my horse, I itch. I had such a bad itch last night that I fell off my horse and it ran off." "Well, you must stop itching then," said the king. So, how did Sir Gus lose his horse? That's right. Sir Gus had such a bad itch that he fell off of his horse and then it ran off. What did King Alfred say Sir Gus should do? Right? So what do you think you should do if you have an itch and your horse ran off? That's right. King Alfred said Sir Gus should stop itching. And that answer is in paragraph 8. It says, "You must stop itching then," said the king. All right, paragraphs 9 and 10. Here we go. "Yes, indeed," replied Sir Gus, trying very hard not to itch. Then the king told the knights what had happened. He told them he was counting on them to recover his ring. So, what did King Alfred tell his knights he was counting on them to do? I'm going to read it again so that you can try to pick out the answer. "Yes, indeed," replied Sir Gus, trying very hard not to itch. Then the king told the knights what had happened. He told them he was counting on them to recover his ring. Now, what did King Alfred tell his knights he was counting on them to do? That's right, he was counting on them to recover his ring. How do we know? What paragraph number can we look to find the answer? That's right, we're going to look at paragraph number 10. It says, "Then he told them he was counting on them to recover his ring." That's exactly what the king told him. So That's going to be your answer. What did King Alfred tell his knights he was counting on them to do? King Alfred told his knights he was counting on them to recover his ring. How do we know? Because it states in paragraph 10, he says he told them he was counting on them to recover his ring. All right, paragraphs 11 and 12. Here we go. The next day at sunrise, 11 of the knights galloped off to find the thief. Sometime after lunch, Sir Gus was woken up by the king himself. Uh-oh. Now, here's your question. Why did only 11 knights set out the next morning to find the thief? Now, I want you to read those two paragraphs over by yourself. It's right here on the screen. Paragraphs 11, which is right here, and paragraph 12, right here. I want you to read those two really quickly. Now, here's your question. Why did only 11 knights set out the next morning to find the thief? What do you think? Do you know what paragraph you can find the answer? Yeah, I would say that the answer is in paragraph 12. So the answer is, why did only 11 knights set out the next morning to find the thief? Because Sir Gus was asleep. And how do we know he was asleep? Paragraph 12, it says, Sir Gus was woken by the king himself. Well, if someone wakes you up, then that means you have to be asleep, which means Sir Gus was asleep, so the king had to wake him up. So here we go. We're going to go to paragraphs 13. Well, we're going to read 13, 14, and 15 this time. So we're going to read 3 paragraphs, 13, 14, and 15. Not up yet, said the king. Pardon me, my lord, stammered Sir Gus. I was just... never mind, said the king. There's no need to explain. Why should you be up at the crack of dawn? For what can a knight do without a horse? But never fear, I have a gift for you. You may take my horse, but you must be careful, Sir Gus. My horse is the fastest in the land. Oh. Why was King Alfred angry with Sir Gus? Why was he angry? Why was King Alfred angry with Sir Gus? I'm going to read these paragraphs over to you again. Here we go. Not up yet, said the king. Pardon me, my lord, stammered Sir Gus. I was just... Never mind, said the king. There's no need to explain. Why should you be up at the crack of dawn? For what can a knight do without a horse? But never fear, I have a gift for you. You may take my horse, but you must be careful, Sir Gus. My horse is the fastest in the land. So, why do you think King Alfred was angry with Sir Gus? Right, because he was still sleeping. My goodness, he hadn't even gotten up yet, and it was after lunch. Well, how do you know he was angry with Sir Gus? Well, I think we can look at paragraph 13. And he says, not up yet? Kind of in a tone that suggests that he's a little bit angry that Sir Gus is still sleeping. Right? So that's what we're going to, paragraph 13. We know that he is angry because in paragraph 13 he says not up yet, which means that he's pretty upset that Sir Gus is not up. All right. Last stretch. 16, 17, and 18. Sir Gus got out of bed. He stretched and yawned loudly. Then he got dressed. Do not fear, said Sir Gus as he mounted the horse. I am in... And with that, Sir Gus was carried off. The king's horse had shot off like an arrow. Okay, friends, we're going to stop right there. There are 3 questions for you to answer. What is a thief? And for number 1. Number 2, Sir Gus takes longer to get to the king than other knights, and tell me why. And why did Sir Gus fall off his horse? So those are the 3 questions I want you to answer. You can reread the entire thing by yourself, and then I want you to answer the questions on your Google Doc, and I will see your answers. Thank you, friends. Remember, read The Thief. If you have any questions, send them to me on Class Dojo.